Hi guys, welcome again to Barker's Barbecue. Today we're cooking beef short ribs. Alright guys, so let's get this packet open. So these are some Bass Strait beef short ribs, and we're going to pull the packet open and have a look and see how we travel. Off you go, on your bed. Alright, so let's get these going. Alright. So this is your typical pack. They come in twos. Let me just pull these apart. Stuck together from the vac bag. There we go. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to start off by showing you what you really should be looking for in a rack of beef ribs. Now these are pretty wide. First thing you should be looking for is looking on the edge of the rack. You can see there's that beautiful marbling right the way throughout those ribs. All that white all that white fat throughout. Same on this side. So that's what's going to keep your ribs nice and moist and nice and tender. They basically sort of work in that way. Now, obviously, like a uniform size as well. These are nice and square. I looked up these, picked these out personally from the fridge. These look really good. And occasionally, what you might want to look out for is there's sometimes a fat seam that runs across just on top of the bones. This one appears to be all good, but you know, if you can try and avoid those ones, then you're going to get a better cook overall. So here's another shot of that marbling there. So just all of that is what's going to give you that beautiful flavor throughout the meat. So one other tip I wanted to run off as well is that with these, this one's probably going to take around about 5 hours. Now, if you wanted to actually have them take a bit shorter, what you can do is you can ask your butcher to chop them down the middle like this to actually make 2 slender racks. Now, 2 slender racks like that would probably take around about the 3-hour mark. So, you know, you'll end up with the same amount of beef ribs, but, you know, they'll cook quicker and also a bit more bark because you'll have 2 more exposed edges. So you're aiming for about a 5-hour cook on these ones. So what we're going to do firstly is we're going to take off that fat cap. So I'm only going to do 1 rack today. So we'll start with this one. So given these are a bit wide, let me just flatten this out. What I like to do is get a nice long knife, start from one end, push the knife through. Now these are pretty wide, these ones, so I'll just come out in the middle, and just run your knife with a slight upward angle as you go across. Just take off as much as you can without going into the meat. Now you can see a little bit's gone into the meat there, but not very much, so you just hold that flap over there as well and run back this way. So yeah, and then you just start, you know, the other side as well. You know, this is a little bit of a lumpy rack, which is fine. There we go. There we go. Only a thin sliver of meat on there. But as you can see, you're exposing all of this beautiful meat on the top here to the rub, eventually when we rub them. So, wow, the marbling in these is insane. Check that out. Jeez. Bass Strait beef ribs, guys. Very nice. So yeah, just try and get as much of this off. Don't spend all day with it. You know, just you know, the silver skin is the most important thing to get off, because the rub's just not going to stick and not going to really flavor the meat underneath that. So you just want to get as much as you can. Nice sharp knife obviously helps as well. Yeah, you don't have to fuss over them too much. Just get them nice and square and get as much of that silver skin off as you can without taking all day. So I'm really happy with that. There's a couple of little tags on there, but like I said, no stress, all good. So what I'm going to do now is show you how I prep this side. So beef ribs have a really thick membrane on the back here. It's basically what keeps the guts inside the animal. Obviously, we need to get rid of that. Not much need for that these days. So what I do, is I fold it like this, so there's a bit of a bulge here, and then I use the bones as a guide and run my knife down just like that. That exposes the underside of the meat, and you can also get a bit of rub on it too. So just going to do the same with this side as well. Run the knife down the edge like that. You don't lose a lot of meat with it, so it's all good. But basically, yeah, that's how I go about trimming a rack of beef ribs ready for the smoker. So what we're going to do now is we're going to apply a little bit of a mustard slather. Just a bit, not too much. Just get all sides. This is purely just as a binder, just to help the rub stick. So, the rub that I'm using today is one of my favorites. It's Oak Ridge Barbecue Black Ops Brisket Rub. Now obviously it's a brisket rub, but it can be used with any beef. So let's go ahead and get some of this on here. So, nice liberal coat. All right, on all edges, make sure you get everything. A little bit on the underside as well. Don't worry about the bottom of the bones. Not a very tasty part, that area. Yeah, we've got a nice liberal coat on that. Press it in, don't rub it in. Always press your rubs in. It's counterintuitive, I know, but it's the way it should be. Press them in. I'm going to let this sit out for around about 20 minutes, half an hour before sticking it in the smoker, just to let that rub tack on. And yeah, we'll get these in the smoker shortly. All right guys, so we've got the bullet smoker here going at about 275 Fahrenheit or about 140-ish Celsius. That's right where I want it for these beef rib cooks, and most of the ways I'll do low and slow cooking. So I'm going to go ahead and stick these on now. So I'm aiming for, like I said, about a 5-hour cook on these. And they're going to shrink up, they're going to change shape, and you're really going to see what's going to happen. I'm probably going to leave this for about 2 hours, and we'll come back and have a look then. All right guys, so we're 3.5 hours into the cook now. I put these on at about 12:15, and it's now 3:45. So this has been going for about, like I said, about 250 degrees Fahrenheit, about 120-ish degrees Celsius. So we're going to have a check in on these. So as you can see, it's starting to bark up quite nicely now. So we're going to do a quick temp check. So right now we're sitting about 178 Fahrenheit, 177. They're still feeling a little bit tight up at this end, but in actual fact, they're feeling really, really nice down this end. So a little bit uneven, but that's okay. These things are a bit like that sometimes. So with the fat content across the whole thing here, we're going to leave this unwrapped throughout the whole cook. You know, given we've got such a high quality beef rib, it's going to be just fine, I reckon. So we're going to probably give this another hour or so, and we'll check in and see what the temp is then. Alrighty, these have been going for about 5.5 hours at this point, so we're going to open her up and have a quick look. So yeah, these are feeling really, really nice right now. That bark has come up beautifully. So I'm getting no resistance when I'm poking it into the meat there. That's just how you want it. And the temperature is reading 199, 201, 198. So it's important that, you know, you should never really cook to temp. It's always about to feel at this point. Temp is only really a guide. Once you get above sort of 180, it's all about the tenderness feeling at that point. So there's no resistance when I'm poking this, which is perfect. They have come out a little warped, but that's partially because I have put a foil ball underneath there like that. What I did that for was just to make sure that if there was a bit of poolage happening with the fat, that it would run off and allow the bark to develop. So there was a bit of that happening before, so that's why I've employed the foil ball technique. So I'm just going to take these off now and stick them on our cutting board. And take these inside, and we're going to give them a rest for probably about half an hour, and then we're going to tuck in because I'm pretty peckish. Alrighty guys, so this has been resting on the bench here just under a tea towel and some foil for about the last half hour. So we're just going to take this out now. So as you can see, the bark has really developed nicely on there. Now, as you saw, obviously, I didn't wrap this during the cook. I just left it basically naked all the way. Yeah, you can see the bark development on there is really nice. It's a little wet around here, but still, it's nicely tacked on there. So basically, when I go ahead and serve these up, I just run a knife underneath the bone, just to separate the bones off. Underneath there. Separate that. Bone number 3. These little chewy bits on the bones are really nice as well, so don't throw those away. All right, so we'll just put those to one side. And this is what it's all about. So this whole piece of meat, I just basically slice just like this. Now you can hear the juices in that thing. Oh, the smell here is sensational, guys. So good. So this is basically how I serve up the beef ribs. Just sliced like this. That way everyone can get a little bit. And as you can see, super juicy, super fatty in there. Just going to go ahead and give this a try. Super tender. Really what you want from a beef rib. You just want it to fall apart. So, if you guys will excuse me, I'm gonna go ahead and tuck in and get some dinner. Alrighty guys, thanks so much for watching my beef ribs video today. I really hope you got something out of it. Beef ribs are definitely something I recommend you tackle before going for brisket, because you know there's a lot of principles that you can actually apply to brisket that you can use with beef ribs, you know, such as bark development and you know, that probe tenderness that you're supposed to feel when it's done. So, you know, you want to make sure you get yourself a really good quality beef rib as well, you know, that way they'll be a bit more fail-safe as well. But yeah, like I said, I hope you got something out of it. As always, I'm on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. Please like, share and subscribe. And if you'd like to see me cook anything else, give me a shout. Thanks again for watching.